Good evening and welcome again to Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Tonight we continue our investigation into Dahvie Vanity, Blood on the Dance Floor, aka Jesus Torres, and allegations that he committed sexual assault and sexual misconduct with up to 24 different underage women. And we learned last week that this is now an international story. And tonight we continue with three women who unfortunately know all too well what it can be like to fall into Dahvie Vanity's trap. Mal Levy joins us, as well as Tessa Jordan and Ashlee Lillie, who you met several weeks ago. She was actually the first survivor of Dahvie Vanity to appear in this program and lay it all out. And she's going to discuss in just a little bit the fallout that she's experienced after going public with her experiences with Dahvie Vanity, and kind of an incredible story about how other people have come out of the woodwork and approached her on how to get their stories told out there. So we'll have that in just a bit. And we'll also have the very latest on the Onision investigation, the YouTube psycho brat from Washington State. We'll wrap up with that. But first, I'd like to introduce Mal Levy. Mal, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate you being here. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. So tell me about how you first learned of Dahvie Vanity. How did he come onto your radar?
Well, back in the day, sorry, my phone's a little weird. I was a MySpace personality, I guess you
Right.
could say. So, and Dahvie was too. He was like Dahvie Vanity, elite hair god, or whatever he went by. And we all kind of stuck together back then. So we became friends on MySpace.
So you got to be friends on MySpace, sort of not really meeting except for virtually.
Right. Yeah. We met online initially. Yeah.
And you were a bit of a celebrity in those days on MySpace. And so it was not unusual for somebody like him, also a celebrity, to make contact and for you guys to be in touch.
Yeah, that was like a weird, like unspoken thing where like everyone in that scene kind of knew each other. It was weird like that. So we just randomly became, and we both lived in Florida. I lived in Fort Lauderdale. He was in like Orlando. So there was also that.
And how did it progress to the point where you actually met him in person?
Well, we would talk on the phone a bunch. He had me in his MySpace, like who I'd like to meet section under like a photo of me saying like me and this girl are going to take over the world. And, we were really close. We talk on the phone all the time, like on the phone, like phone calls. And then one day my friend gave me a ride to Orlando to go hang out with him. And at this point there wasn't even like a romantic thing. It was just like friendship.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 15 at the time. I might have started talking to him when I was 14, but I don't remember. But I know that I was 15 when I met him.
And so you connect in Orlando, and how did that first meeting go?
Oh, well, I got out of the car and he immediately started air humping me against my friend's car and was like, "Oh, thank you so much for bringing her to me." And I'm like, great.
So this was like a gift of some sort? He immediately started air hump you?
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
I should say. And you were 15 at the time.
Yes, I was 15.
And this would have been what,
2008, I think, I want to say.
So what happened during this first meeting with Dahvie Vanity?
Sorry, I'm trying to fix this because it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see. The first time that we had met, well, we get into the house, and I believe it was Rebecca's house, who was the first manager. But at the time, I don't even think she was his manager yet. She was older. She was like in her 40s or something. And he had this little room set up where there was a banner that said "Blood on the Dance Floor" on the wall. And at this point, I should mention, like, the band wasn't a band yet. Like, it was just him. I think he had one or two songs on MySpace, maybe. Like, I don't know. I only knew one song because he played it for me. He showed it to me. So he decides to perform it for some reason in front of me, like, I guess to kind of show off, like, to impress me, maybe.
Right.
So that was kind of awkward. But yeah, he just starts jumping around like a jelly bean, singing a song, doing his thing, whatever. And it was kind of awkward. But and Rebecca was kind of standing there being really quiet. She didn't say much. She was a pretty quiet person, I think. And then I don't remember what happened after that, but I do remember my next memory from that day goes straight to the last part of the night. I
And
guess you could say.
when you say last part of the night, were you partying with him? Were you just hanging out? He was just playing the music? What was going on?
I mean, I'm assuming we were just hanging out, probably just like listening to music or something, talking probably. But he's like, "Oh, you want a drink?" And back then, I used to drink a lot when I was a kid. I used to drink a lot, and I was like, "Yeah, you got any whiskey?" So he gets me like a Jack and Coke or something, and I only had one drink. In fact, I remember I can see the glass visually. I could see it in my head. Like I know what the glass looks like.
Right.
I didn't even have the whole drink. I think I may have had half of it.
Do you think the drink was spiked?
Honestly, there's a good chance because my only memory from that night, aside from the initial that I just described, which is more vivid, the only memory I have from the part from him giving me a drink is literally that, and then like a snippet of what happened next, and then waking up.
And what happened next?
Well, um, I don't know, like it was kind of all of a sudden, but he like grabbed the back of my head and like got on his he like had like a pallet laid out on the little like living room floor or something, and he grabbed the back of my head and like forcefully, like aggressively, like shoved it down on his crotch. Like he got on his knees and put and like adjusted my body to be on my knees and just shoved it down, and it was really gross because it smelled bad. Just throwing it out there. And I, by the way, I also spoke to somebody else yesterday who said the same thing. Just throwing it out there.
Did Looking back on this now, and it sounds like people were drinking, and maybe something was slipped in your drink, and do you think that was sexual assault? Did he assault you? Looking back,
Yes, absolutely. I had no interest in him that way. Like I was never physically attracted to him. I was attracted to his personality. He uses that to get to girls because he comes off as very friendly and funny and interesting and like very relatable. He wants to relate to you.
well,
So,
notwithstanding the fact that you're 15 at the time, so any
right.
sexual act, whether physically consented, is still illegal.
Exactly, yeah. So either way, it's not my job to know that. It's his job as a grown adult. And he even said, I remember him saying, "Oh, by the way, he said like I'm kind of embarrassed, but I'm 21 years old." And like first off, I found out that that's not true. He was older than that. He was a
Did
couple
he,
years older.
did he know you were at 15?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So this happens. What's your state of mind at the end of the evening?
I don't remember anything after that. I think what I remember is that he just kind of went back to normal and like as if nothing really happened, like, "Oh, it's fine, just my friend Mal," or I was Malice back then, and it was just normal. It was just normal, but I guess I didn't think of it as weird because I liked older guys anyway, because like a lot of girls did and do. It's like a normal ish thing for us. Um, so I didn't think anything of it. I just felt like, oh God, I wish that didn't happen. I was embarrassed. People would ask me later on in life if I had ever hooked up with him, and I would always say no because it's embarrassing to me. But I didn't really fully start to realize that this was like full on rape until the Huffington Post article came out, because then I was in therapy and I brought it up to my therapist, and then I realized, oh my God, I was literally molested. Like I was literally taken advantage of badly. So
And did you confront him with this? Did you say anything?
no, I never did. I don't think I ever brought it. I don't think we ever talked about that again, which is weird.
And how did your relationship continue from that point on?
Well, after that, so like I said, this is before they were really a band. So at that point, I think that's when he had recruited Garrett, and I went back to Fort Lauderdale, doing my thing. I printed out flyers for his first show, which I believe got canceled and rescheduled, which I never went to, but I would go to different local shows in Lauderdale, and I would, support him. I would hand out flyers to people just because I was his friend, just trying to help him out. And that was pretty much it. And then I went to Orlando. They were opening up for Hollywood Undead. And my friend and I, who was 15 at the time, and at this point, I think I was 16, we drove up with another friend who actually drove. and we said hi to him, and we hung out for a minute, and it was totally normal. So it was kind of like it was just normal for a while, and then we didn't really speak again until I was 17 when I was in LA.
And did there come a point when he tried to get intimate with you again?
No, I think I never showed him the kind of attention that he wanted. In the beginning, it was different because we were talking so regularly that I feel like he had that in his mind to kind of go forward doing what he does. But later on, I never showed him that same type of attention. So for him, it was not interesting because he seems to prey on those who idolize him, look up to him, think he's cool. And I'm not that kind of person. I don't really care. So he didn't try again. At that point, no, I don't think so.
Is he charismatic? What's his appeal to women who are 14, 15, 16? We interviewed one woman who was 10, a girl who was 10 years old at the time. What's his appeal to somebody who's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old?
Well,
is it celebrity?
I guess they think he's a celebrity, which is, understandable. When you're that young, you're very impressionable. And at the time when the whole like scene thing was at its peak, he had that look that all those girls thought was like so cool, so hot, and like things like emo boys kissing was like a big thing. So like him and Jay would make out on stage for a song, even though Dahvie wasn't gay or bi. He would do that because of the attention that the kids would love it. But yeah, his appearance is what I think made the kids so amazed, because the music wasn't good. It was really just the appearance that got them, I think.
And explain to me, Mal, why you continue to hang out with this guy after what was, essentially a sexual assault.
Well, that's the thing. We didn't really hang out after that. I went and saw him because I was already going to Orlando, and I saw him briefly. But we didn't really hang out after that ever again. He just kind of went back to normal, and we just kind of like grew apart a little bit. It wasn't until I was in LA, because I was back and forth to LA from the time I was like 16, 17 till I moved there. And I saw that, I was always looking up shows, and I saw, Blood on the Dance Floor is playing at the Roxy tonight. So I texted him. I was like, hey, dude, you're playing. What's up? And he called me, and he was so excited. He's like, oh my God, Mal, you got to come out. I miss you. And that's the first time I saw him in maybe a year at that point.
And did you see him interact with other underage girls?
Yes. Yes, I did. A lot.
Did you see him victimize, take advantage of other younger underage girls?
Yes, I did.
Was this an occasional thing? Was this something you saw often when you were hanging out with the band with him?
This was often. He had asked me to, basically when I got to the venue and after I said hi to him, he was yelling at his merch girl at the time. They were fighting. They were yelling at each other like, oh, Dahvie, you're such an asshole or whatever. They were just yelling at each other. And he came up to me and was like, Mal, I really need your help. Like, can you go on tour in like a couple days? I'm like, what? I was 17. I'm like, what? Let me ask my dad. I was already graduated and everything by then. So I was like a young adult already in a sense. So my dad was like, as long as you're safe, that's cool. Because I wanted to be in the music industry, which I, later on did. So I got the go ahead, and I agreed to be their new merch person. And this was like their first real national headliner. Yeah.
And how long did you actually go on the road with them on this particular trip?
That's funny because I got kicked off the tour.
Why did you get kicked off?
I got kicked off I think the tour was really short. It was like a 3-week tour. And I think or maybe even less than that. I think I got kicked off like a week and a half into the tour. Yeah, it was, I got kicked off.
And why did you get kicked off? What happened?
Well, I guess I should start by saying I witnessed some stuff when I was on the tour. I witnessed him with underage girls, and I didn't like it. And he also was bullying me the entire time. He would like, it's not playful bullying. It's like mean. Like he'd be mean to you. Jay would kind of joke, but
Jay would joke around. Did you ever go to these other young women and say, run while you can, get away, this isn't going to end well?
I wish I did. I was still so young, and I guess I just didn't know what to do. I kind of took it seriously, but not as seriously as I should have. Um, but I was disgusted, and I think he knew that because I mean, I had walked in on him one night by myself when he was receiving oral from what looked like an underage girl. I can't confirm it, but she looked very young. She looked like 13, 14 years old.
And did you say
And
anything to him at the time?
I just closed the door because he looked at me. He was like sitting in the middle of the bed. It was dark. He looked at me and he's like, like, can you go? And I was like, sorry, bye, sorry. And I was just embarrassed that I had walked in on that. But that wasn't the only thing that I saw, though. There was a night in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We had a friend who was on the previous tour that they were on. Um, he's from Albuquerque, and I was like, oh, hey, so and so lives here, we should invite him to the show. It's like, oh, totally, let's put him on the list. So we go to a show. Afterwards, I go and hang out with this person, and I'm just in his car, we're talking, hanging out. We're like, oh, we should see if Dahvie wants to come hang. So I probably texted him, and he came over, and he had this girl with him, and she was really young looking, and she had this tank top on, and her boobs were like about to fall out kind of deal. Very curvy. And she was carrying a bottle of Jack Daniels, a large bottle of Jack Daniels by the neck. And they sat in the car, and he said something along the lines of like, "Oh my God, can you believe how big this girl's tits are?" Or like something like that. Like he always was talking about boobs. And then he starts grabbing them with both his hands, shaking them around like, "Oh."
Showing
And
off.
yeah, exactly. And she was giggling about it, and I don't remember if he said this or if I asked. He either said something like, I can't believe her age or something. Or I may have asked how old you are. But either way, she said, I'm 13. And I was like,
13.
yeah. And I looked at the guy that we were, our friend, and I was like, what?
It
And
sounds
they were
like,
making out.
Mal, it sounds like that Dahvie had virtually a never-ending supply of underage girls every time he went on the road, even when he wasn't on the road playing in a concert tour. Is that fair?
Yeah, there's always girls hanging out, and like their parents would even be there, and he would groom the parents. He would be like, "Oh, what's up, Dad? What's up, Mom? You want a free shirt? You want a CD?" Like he would bring everyone to the merch tables, give free stuff out. There was always kids around. There's no one that's above the age of like 15 that was really a fan of this band, and if there's like a handful. There was always young kids.
Mel, I want you to stand by for a minute. I want to bring Tessa Jordan into the conversation. Tessa, you were a teenager in Kentucky when
Yes.
you first heard of Dahvie Vanity. How did you get introduced to him, and how did you first start communicating with Dahvie?
It was over Twitter. I had tweeted something along the lines of like, I really want to see Blood on the Dance Floor in concert, but I know my parents won't let me. And he had seen that tweet, and he ended up DMing me and saying, hey, I'll give you free tickets if you want to come to my show. And I was at school at the time, so I was like, oh, my mom's not going to let me.
And how old were you, Tessa, at the time?
Exactly. I was 16. This was back in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're 16, 2012. You just put a tweet out there. How many followers did you even have at the time?
I don't know. He ended up making me delete that Twitter later. So,
Dahvie made you delete it?
Yes.
Why?
A couple years ago. Because we were dating or seeing each other, and because I've tried to come out about this for a long time, he would have me, say I lied about it. He would have me tell people like, oh no, that's not really true. And he had a way of convincing me, like, yeah, like, let's just not, put it out there. He always kept me like a secret in his life. So because he knew me since I was 16, and he ended up saying, let's just delete our Twitters together because we're getting a lot of hate.
He saw that you tweeted about the upcoming concert. He
Yeah.
offered you tickets?
Yeah, he offered me tickets. I was at school at the time, and he's like, I told him that my mom wasn't going to let me. And he said, well, what's your phone number? And, when you get home, I'll call you and I can talk to your mom. Maybe I can convince her. I was like, yeah, but, she's not going to drive me all the way to Ohio. And he's like, well, I can come get you and take you if she's
I can come get you.
Yeah, he told me he had a girlfriend that lived in Kentucky and that she and him could come pick me up and take me. But that ended up being false. Like he didn't have anybody there.
Did you think that was odd that he would offer to come get a 16-year-old girl and bring you to his concert?
I thought it was, I mean, I can't lie, at that time I was like, oh, that's cool, like he wants to like come get me himself. I didn't see anything wrong with that, but it got weird when he called me because he didn't want to speak to my mom. He wanted me to actually, I was like really like, oh mom, he's on the phone, like he wants to talk to you. And he's like, no, don't give the phone to your mom. I need you to like go in your room, lock the door, and I need you to like, talk to me alone. And that's when everything got weird after that, because in order to get those tickets, he was saying if I wanted them so bad, I would have to give him what he called an oral report.
An oral report. And did you even understand what he was getting at
No.
that age? Did you have any clue what he meant?
No, I didn't know about sex at all, really, at 16. My mom was a young mom. She kind of kept that, quiet. She took me kind of out of sex ed. Like, I was just kind of, what do you mean? Like, you want me to tell you why? Like, you want me to give you, like, a reason why I want these tickets? And he said, oh, you know what I mean? Like, then, oral sex. And that's when it clicked, and I was like, oh, no. I'm only 16. Like, I've never done anything like that before. And he couldn't really take no as an answer, but he was very good at convincing you, like, it's awesome, it's amazing, this is something, like, you've never experienced it before. Can you believe you get to experience it with me, like someone you look up to? And he would say, like, comments like, oh, you'll love it. It tastes like ice cream. And I was just kind of, he could tell that in my voice I was like, no. So he would switch the subject, and then that's when we got in the conversation about schoolgirl fantasies, which ended up being like the theme of our whole entire relationship.
And what did he have you do in terms of this fantasy with schoolgirl relationships?
Well, ever since I've known him, anytime we met up, he wanted me to dress up like a schoolgirl. And he actually convinced me to be a schoolgirl for Halloween at 16. And I took photos in it. He was really interested in my chest, and he wanted to see kind of sexy pictures of me, which I sent him. I didn't know better. I just, this was new to me. This is the first guy I ever did anything like this with. And
all of which is illegal for him to entice you underage to send what certainly is construed to be pornographic pictures over the internet.
And it got worse. Like, he would ask me, like, how far can you stick a toothbrush down your throat? Can you do a video of you shoving a banana? And it got worse and worse after that. Eventually, he wanted to meet up with me. Like, he actually wanted to create some kind of, like, plan to secretly meet up with me.
Looking back, did he groom you?
Yeah. I didn't understand what that word meant until later in life, because he kept me around for so long. It was like just last year when I cut ties with him, after finding out, like, he didn't want me, like, it wasn't love, he just used me. And he made me feel, and he always told me that I belonged to him and that I need him, and he's always been there, and there's never going to be anybody like that in my life. And he got me right at the age where I was a teenage girl, having trouble with family problems and being understood, and I had daddy issues. So he was someone that I trusted and someone I relied on for a very long time.
Looking back, did he know how to exploit your vulnerabilities, your home life, your insecurities, your age, your lack of intimate experience?
Yeah, he took a lot of things away from me. He was my first everything. I went on tour with him for a short period of time, and he wouldn't allow me to dress myself up or look good, and he would comment in front of other people like, you need to be blonde, you need to have implants, you need to look a certain way in order for me to love you. And he wanted me to be more sexual, so he wanted me to be more I don't know, like nasty with him.
How did he finally get you to meet him in person? This grooming went on for some period of time when you were living in Kentucky, you're with your parents. How did you finally meet him in person?
Well, at 16, he kept trying to make attempts, but, eventually someone, that made me feel uncomfortable. So around 17, I went to see him in concert for the first time. He actually messaged me and sent me like free tickets. Actually, I met him at the show. I took a couple friends. We hung out at the show. Nothing happened then, but on my 18th birthday, around 17, we started talking more. And I was telling him, I wanted to move out of my parents' house. And he's like, well, why don't you go on tour with me? And around 17. So at 18, on my 18th birthday, that's when we met for the first time. And that's when I first had my first sexual experience with him.
Did you feel that he forced you? Were you consenting as much as you could at that age? Or?
I definitely told him, I was very vocal about it, that I didn't want to do it. We had talked about it over the phone, but when it came down to it, I kind of chickened out. I was like, I'm not ready for this kind of stuff. And he just got really angry with it. Like, I didn't fly all the way down here for nothing. Like, you're a tease. I can't believe you. So he guilt tripped me. He guilt tripped me into doing it. Where all these girls saying he pushed down their head and like forced them, grabbed them. He definitely did that to me at a point where there was no like stopping it. It was just, all right, the only way to get through this is do it. So that's the first time that happened.
What was it like for you, Tessa, to hear Mal's story?
Well, there's a lot of relatable stuff in there, like, cause I was around him many times and saw a lot of things too. And I hate to say that, it makes me feel guilty because I stayed around for so long.
Why did you stay, Tessa, looking back?
I felt like he was the only person I had in my life, to be honest. I thought that I didn't want to, he was my only friend. He was going to be there no matter what, which he was. I mean, like, anytime I wanted to go somewhere or escape, I'd go to his house. And, I don't know. I just felt like I loved him, I guess, but really I just relied on him because he made an emotional connection with me. Like, I'm never going to leave you. I'm always here. But he didn't really care for me in that way.
Give me a sense for what you saw in the time that you were on the road with him and the time that you were with him.
When I was on the road with him, I wasn't there that long. I got kicked off too.
You got kicked off as well?
Yeah.
And why did you get kicked off?
Well, he told me that we were dating. So I kept seeing him, go behind stage and be with these girls who had to be young. Like, I saw him grab girls' chest. I saw him making out with girls. I saw him take a group of girls to on the tour bus. And he had a van actually. And he would go in there and do God knows what with them. He would bring girls to our hotel rooms. I saw all of that happening. It was, I knew what was happening because I had gone through it, kind of myself. And a lot of people in the band knew about it and would talk to me about that. Like, yeah, he's weird. They even thought I was underage because of the way I look. A lot of the times people felt uncomfortable with me being on tour because they didn't believe I was 18. But yeah, he was very sneaky. They played this game like Where's Dahvie, because he would sneak out after the show, couldn't find him, and he was hooking up with some fans somewhere. I don't know if they were underage every single time, but they definitely were sometimes.
How would you describe Dahvie Vanity? Is he a predator? Is he a criminal? Is he an opportunist? Is he all of the above? How would you best describe him based upon the time?
I mean, he knows he's a predator. He's told me that he's attracted to younger girls. There's been times, he trusted me so much because we had known each other for so long at his most vulnerable moments, like if he was drunk or if he would cry about it. I'm sick. I don't know why I'm like this. You know, even when we were dating last year, you know, we had issues with him Snapchatting young girls, and he would show me pictures of girls that were Snapchatting him, and they were underage, and he's like, I know, I just, you know, they want to, it's fine. And I always I just kind of didn't know how to approach him with that.
How do you think he's gotten away with this for so long? I mean, he actually was able to keep you on board as his friend, watching this, having had the same experience in your own personal relationship with him.
I honestly don't know. It's always frustrated me why he got away with it so much, because there's so many girls that have something to say about it, have had an experience. I really can't tell you why. Everybody's seen it. If you've been around Dahvie, you've definitely seen younger girls. He has the mind of a teenage boy, and that's why he gets these girls. Like, he can relate to them. It's like he's never grown up.
What's your biggest regret about your time with Dahvie Vanity?
Oh, definitely thinking that's the way to be treated. I mean, I moved away from my family. I lost so much. Like, I deal with anxiety disorders now, nightmare. He took away my innocence at that point. I can't forgive him for that.
Did you ever think about getting away from him earlier? Just saying, I can't do this. This is abusive.
Yeah. I did try. It was just always I ran back, because he had ways to convince you that he was sorry, that everything was going to be better. Like, no, I don't know how he did it, but he has a way of doing it, or he had a way of doing it.
Tessa, how did this shape you into the young woman you are today? What are you because of this? It's a tough question, I know, but I'm curious.
I guess now I know how to be treated, and I learned my lesson very much on how to, especially just stay away from those kind of people who could be so manipulative like that. I learned from it definitely that just because you have money, because he used me for money, just because you look a certain way, just because somebody looks, he's all talk. He's just really good at convincing. I just learned not to trust people like that.
He was the celebrity, but there was a time when he actually used you for money?
Yeah, after the band split up, I'm a dancer, so I was making a lot of money, and I had all this extra cash, and he didn't have any friends. He didn't have any company. Everybody was kind of separating from him. So I would go and visit. He needed help with his merch line. So, I offered. At first I was like, oh, you're struggling? Like, let me help you. And then he got used to that. So I kept doing it because I thought I had to do it, because he's like, oh, I've always been there for you. I've helped you. I mean, of course, he's never really helped me except for having a place to stay or someone to talk to. But I guess I got kind of confused on what I wanted. That attention, I wanted the love and the comfort and all of that. And the only way you could really get that with Dahvie is you gave something to him that benefited him. Money.
What do you say to Dahvie Vanity tonight, if he's watching, Tessa?
I hope he gets what he deserves and he stops what he's doing.
Which is what? What do you think he deserves?
I think he deserves to go to prison, to be honest. He's not gonna, I know him so well. I know he's gonna continue this until the day he does get caught. He's addicted to it.
Tessa, I want you to stand by, because we've got Ashlee Lillie with us also tonight. And Ashlee really was the very first Dahvie Vanity survivor to come on this show and talk about her experiences. And I think it's important to mention that one of the reasons Tessa felt comfortable in coming on and telling her story was because Ashlee was also going to be on and sort of lend her support here. But I think it's interesting, Ashlee, after sharing your story here, What has been the fallout? When we look at the comments coming in during those shows, people really get the fact that this wasn't your fault, that you were victimized by somebody who was a predator. And while you can look back and say, I should have done this or I shouldn't have done this, you're a victim, a survivor. Yeah. What has happened? Yeah. How have people been treating you since you first came public with this?
Honestly, within a week, I made a YouTube video on my own channel that was just basically thanking you and just talking about my experience overall. And I truly, up until the last week, I've received nothing but positive messages. I have gotten so much support, and I have never felt so validated in something that's eaten me up for so long than I have in the last, month. I mean, it's been, I think, exactly a little bit over a month now, but, however, in the last week, he's actually blocked me on Instagram. So I've been receiving a couple of messages recently from a couple of underage girls who are kind of like seeking a refuge in me, if for lack of better words, I guess, because I've had at least, 4 girls who are between the ages of 14 to 16 message me and ask me if everything is true, if this is what really happened. And I'm like, unfortunately, yes, like, he's a dangerous person. Like, why are you asking? And every single time they immediately send me screenshots where he's been FaceTiming them like 10 times in a row and messages of him reaching out to these girls. And it's making me really, I've been very angry this last week because he's just doing this to everybody. Like, there's so many young girls he's still talking to. So
you've had, just to be clear, Ashlee, multiple 14 to 16-year-old girls reach out to you because of your appearance on this show and say, hey, he's doing the same thing to me. He's hurting me. He wants to get together.
Yeah. I was on FaceTime with this girl who, bless her heart, she's only 16. I was on FaceTime with this girl the other day, and we were on the phone for like an hour, and she was just eaten up. Like, she was almost crying, talking to me about how their conversations have been so innocent, but all of a sudden he asked her to expose herself on camera, and she was super uncomfortable with it, and she was just on the verge of tears the whole time about it. And I kept telling her, the scary thing is that everything that he was saying to her was things that he said to me 10 years ago. And I was trying to level with her in a way as much as I could, because even a side note, I feel strange even talking to 16-year-olds. I don't understand how he can talk to them in the way that he does, because even with her, I was trying so hard to make sure everything I said was super appropriate, was, something that could help her rather than hurt her farther. And I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
No, but it was weird for you to even be talking to somebody who's 16 years old, even though you could relate because you were a teenager when you first met Dahvie Vanity.
Yeah, and she's telling me these things that are exact copies of things that he said to me 10 years ago, and they're the exact copies of things that he's saying to another girl who's messaging me and to another girl who's messaging me. And it's just shocking that so many of his fans, because earlier today I was creeping on his live stream on my other Instagram account that he hasn't blocked yet, and he was talking to these girls about how if you go and like this picture that I just posted last week or a couple days ago, I will follow every single one of you back. And that is so dangerous. And these girls are eating it up. And they need to realize, and I mean this in the most lighthearted way possible, but they aren't special. Like, he's not personally caring about these girls. He is using every single one of them to this day, every day, calling these girls between 10 to 15 times in a row if they don't answer. So it's scary.
When you heard Mal's story and Tessa's story tonight, what was going through your mind, Ashlee?
How scary it is that they're so similar. And it truly is this pattern that he has, I hate to say perfected because I don't want to give him any credit, but he's perfected this pattern of using these girls, and he knows exactly what's going to work. He tries it on a girl before, does it on the next, does it on the next. It's this endless cycle of him just manipulating these girls into doing whatever he wants and to doing his bidding and to helping him when he needs it, but not helping them when they need it. It's just this endless cycle of it. He's lurking for something that he's missing in himself with each girl that he encounters.
Notwithstanding the fact that this is an attempt at statutory rape, an attempt at enticing child pornography.
Yeah. No, that was exactly my point. And it's such... when me and this last girl were talking, the 16-year-old that I was speaking to, while we were mid-conversation, he had blocked her on Instagram, like mid-conversation. So she's in tears because she was afraid that, you know, that somebody had said something or another, but she was afraid that he was going to, like, you know, manipulate how she sent him those pictures, you know, or how she not sent pictures, but how she exposed herself on camera when he asked her to, but he was soliciting child pornography, you know?
What's it going to take to stop him?
Realistically, I think somebody needs to go undercover, but he's already too scared. He's, for lack of better words, he's crapping himself every single day about this because he's blocking everybody without any context. He's just blocking anybody who brings it up to him. And he is asking these girls when he's talking to them, he's like, are you a spy? Are you a spy? Prove to me you're not a spy by showing me this, by doing this, by putting your fingers in your mouth, by showing me your breast. He's very scared. Like, we have him cornered. It's just a matter of getting that last little bit of bait that we need.
You know, actually, I want you to stick with me here, and I want to bring Tessa and Mal back on because I want you all to interact here on this. Mal, you've heard what Tessa and what Ashlee have said tonight. What do you say to them?
I mean, I feel for you guys because, I mean, Ashlee, I watched your last interview, and I was really emotional watching that one because, I mean, that was such a delicate thing that I can't even say it again because it makes me so sick. And, like, I mean, both of you guys, like, just what he did was, he's just awful. Like, I can't talk about it because I get emotional. Like, there's a couple of these that I watched and I literally cried. Like, I literally cried.
It's sad.
I'm just sorry that you guys had to go through anything related to him because he's an awful human being.
You all have, you know, the same things in common: underage, vulnerable. Ashlee, in your case, he actually came to your mother's house under the ruse of doing your hair.
Yeah, which is another common thing that he's still saying to people.
Yeah, took advantage of you and your friend and put you in a really vulnerable position and exploited you for it. That's disgusting what he did to you.
Something I wanted to say, actually, whenever I saw that he blocked me the other day, this is just kind of to appease the chat that's going off. I actually messaged him on my alternate account, and I had sent him the pictures of me and him that were on the last live stream, like the photo of me and him together. And I was like, hey, you probably don't remember me, or maybe you do because that's why you blocked me, but, like, we're taking you down. And I attached the pictures of us, and he blocked me immediately. So
no response.
He blocked me too.
No, blocked me immediately. So it's either like, and he has to know. I mean, I don't think that he's just vacant of all these spaces that he's ruined, you know, well, not ruined, because obviously here we are standing today very strong, but these lives that he's tried to manipulate in some way, he has to remember it. Like, I mean,
he
otherwise why would he
denies
block me?
He denies it. I've tried to, like, talk to him and be like, you know how we met, you know what you did. And he was like, what do you mean? You were old enough. And I'm like, no, I was 16. I told you. And he just says, no, you weren't. You didn't tell me that. You lied about your age.
In his own twisted world, this is okay.
No.
Like, he thinks it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he would make it seem. I mean, even to me, like, while he did it in front of me. I mean, he brought girls over.
That's so gross.
I had a girl show me her ID once. Because he brought a girl over while I was at his house, and I was like, how old are you? Because he went to go talk to another girl on Skype while we were just interacting. And she's like, I'm 18. And I'm like, no, you're not. And she's like, okay, I'm 17. And then that's when she told me everything. And I would do this every time I saw a girl, even if they were of age. I'm like, get out, go away, run.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be stuck in this.
Do you think he's watching tonight, Tessa?
Yeah, I do. I think he watches all of these, even when I was with him, and he would watch every interview. He wants to know what people are saying.
Well, he's lucky that we're not allowed to curse right now then.
Oh, I want to say so many things right now.
So many things.
Well, yeah. Mal, if he is listening, Mal, what do you say to Dahvie Vanity? What do you say to Jesus Torres tonight?
Oh, you Sonic the Hedgehog looking idiot. I don't know, man. Well, Number one is, I would say you're a disgusting excuse for human being. And, you know, I was embarrassed for a long time to even know you. But what you've done to so many girls, women now, is unforgivable. And you are going to be caught. It's only a matter of literal days at this point. And actually, I have something more to say to other victims who haven't are afraid to say anything. I really just wanted to say you are not alone. If you need somebody to talk to, you can contact me. You can contact Chris. You can contact us. We will be there for you. But I encourage you to speak to somebody that you trust and just know that you're not alone and you'll be okay.
Do you think he's a sex addict? Does he have a clinical diagnosed problem? Is he a predator? Is he a little bit of everything? I mean, what drives this guy, Tessa?
Well, he's definitely not a sex addict. I mean, he not in that way. Definitely with oral sex. He told me he had an oral fixation, and he also likes younger girls. He's even admitted the reason why, because not a lot of older women like him because of the way he looks, because of how he is. Like, he's immature kind of, and younger girls give him more attention. And they're also easier. They're just easy. He doesn't have to work too hard.
So here's a guy. Here's a guy who's now in his 30s, well into his 30s, who, as we speak, is still in contact with 14, 15, 16-year-old girls. We've watched this on his social media.
Yeah.
What do you say, Mal, to those young girls who are talking to him still, even after all this exposure?
I understand that it's hard to believe this when you idolize somebody. I mean, if my idol, if I was that age and my idol, came to me and wanted to talk to me, I would probably be so excited too. I get that. But we're doing this because we want you to, we want the word to be out, because we want to save you. We want to protect you. And this will ultimately happen to you if you're in the position that we were in at one point. And we don't want that to happen. That's it.
You're talking about somebody here who actually brought more girls in when he was with you as victim survivors. I mean, that's pretty bold.
Yeah.
Who does that?
He thinks he's powerful. He's very narcissistic. He thinks in his mind, he's like, these girls are so lucky to have me.
Mal, what did he take from you as we sit here tonight?
I mean,
a lot.
A lot. I think that he kind of was a starting point for other abuse situations that I went through in my life going forward in my youth. And because I was already used to it, I guess you could say. So, I guess he kind of took my youth and twisted he pulled it out of me a little bit further and just kind of kept it.
Mm-hmm.
And which is, I don't know. I'm so tongue tied right now because I'm just thinking about it again, and it's, I'm sorry. I'm just grossed out right now thinking about it.
One of the survivors called him nothing more than a predator with a wig. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, yeah. I would see him mess with his wig on tour, and his whole thing would move. I'm like, maybe
that also smells terrible, by the way.
Oh yeah,
it smells awful.
Smells worse than his. I don't know. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. I also will say a lot of people have reached out to me about this since I've been kind of public on my social media about it, and I do want to thank everyone who's reached out. There's a lot more people. I think that everybody should know there are a lot more people. Just because they haven't come forward yet, a lot of people aren't ready to do so, or they're uncomfortable, which is understandable. But there are a lot more than 20-something women that have been affected by this. There's hundreds, literally.
Yeah.
You guys know.
And around the world. We talked to Carrie Louise last week, and she chronicled his exploits in London, in Germany, in France.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's so heartbreaking.
This is international. Tessa, at one point within the last week, you almost didn't want to do this interview, and I would have understood. I honestly would have.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking to exploit the situation. I'm just trying to get justice for the survivors. What
No,
made you finally decide, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to expose myself, as it were. And look, you could get some hate over this from some of his supporters.
Well, yeah, because I had taken it back so many times. He had a way of making me look bad because I would say, oh, I lied. I don't mean it, but this is the truth. This is what happened. It's been such a problem in my life forever. It's affected my life up still today. I have to I had to get therapy, so it's traumatic. And I just want to be able to say it, let it be done, because I don't want it to come up again in my life. I want to be able to say what I need to say and hope that, that keeps the ball rolling, hope that he gets caught one day and it stops, because I know it won't until, enough people say what their experience. So I just, it took a lot of me thinking back and forth about it. I had nightmares, I was like, maybe I should just get it over with. Maybe this is the right thing to do.
How do you feel now?
I feel like a weight's lifted. I feel like I'm going to be able after this to not think about this anymore.
And to Dahvie Vanity, if these are the last words that he cares to listen to from you, what do you say?
I don't think I'm allowed to say that word, but I think screw you is the nicer way to put it.
Yeah.
Ashlee, what do you say?
Your days are numbered. Like I said in my Instagram message, it's only a matter of time, man. Like, you're so nervous that you have to filter the comments on your Instagram page, and you're so nervous that you have to block everybody who slightly has something against you. Like, your days are numbered, dude. It's only a matter of time before you slip up again.
He doesn't have anything else. I mean,
No.
you look him up, his reputation, everything. He's just known for who he is now. His true colors are shown everywhere. When I was with him, he was denied services at certain places. He couldn't get his hair done at a certain place because they were like, we don't support you. We don't support what you've done. I mean, it is a matter of time. He doesn't have anything else. His family,
he's running out of resources.
His family's barely there for him.
What do you suppose he's telling the next 16-year-old girl tonight who may catch wind of this show?
I know exactly what he's telling them, because they've all been sending me what he's telling them. He's literally telling them that it's a lie. He's telling everybody that it's fake and that we're all liars and that it's just hate. Don't listen to it, because he preaches positivity now. That's his thing, is he wants to be like this new messiah where he's like preaching all this positivity to people.
Yeah.
It's all a crock of, sugar, honey, ice, and tea. Like, it's all fake. But he's telling everybody that it's all fake, that it's all not real. Don't listen to it. Just block them, And I'm thankful that the girls have seen through it, that have reached out to me, and I hope they continue to do so. I really do. If any of the girls who follow me are debating on saying anything, please say something, because this is going on for too long. Like, you are safe. I promise you, with me and Mal and Tessa, it's a safe place,
Yeah, we're here to help you guys. Like, we want what's right,
Yeah. Just don't be fooled.
Mal, is there anything else you want people to know tonight about Dahvie Vanity?
Man, there's so much stuff that I want to say that I didn't say tonight. Like, there's so much that I could say. I do want to say that he's a really good liar, especially when you're young. And that's his appeal. He's charming and friendly, funny, blah, blah, blah. It's all lies. I mean, just because he switched his lyrics from like S my D, it tastes like ice cream, to like, I'm God and magic is great and positive energy, like, doesn't mean he's a good guy. Like, he's still a trash can. Like, it's all a facade.
Flaming trash can.
Yeah, he's a flaming trash can. So,
Ashlee, given everything that's happened since you first, came out on this, what's the most important thing you want people to know tonight as we wrap up?
That, you just have to listen to it. Like my friend Jess in our other interview said, you just have to listen, and you truly do. You just have to listen to what we're saying, take it for what it is and examine the signs, because they are all right in front of you. Like, they just, it's honestly hard for me to even find the words, because it's so heartbreaking to think about the next girl who could be in my position and in their position. Like, you have to recognize the signs that are in front of you of him manipulating you. If he's asking you to see your bedroom when you're FaceTiming to make sure you don't have another camera recording, there's a reason. It's just so dangerous. He's a dangerous, dangerous person, and you have to be careful. And like I said, I'm here if you need it.
Tessa, your final thoughts tonight.
I just hope this all stops. I really do. I honestly forgot about him a little bit until all this came up. And it does hurt me to know that other girls are falling victim into this, because I wasted almost 7 years of my life, and a lot of stuff I didn't get to do in my life because of that. So I just hope nobody falls victim. Don't be fooled. He will hurt you. He will take away things. And then right after he gets it, you don't mean anything else to him but that. So just don't fall victim for that.
All right, Tessa, Ashlee, Mal, I need to tell you one thing, that the support in the chat is so incredible, so overwhelmingly supportive of all of you and being survivors. I don't like the word victim, really.
I don't either. But
it's true, but I stick with survivors on this stuff. But anyway, I can't thank you enough for being on this part of this investigation, on this show. It takes some guts, and it takes some bravery. And I know, look, you got to go have a conversation with your significant others and your families and say, I'm doing this. And I'm sure you get some, well, do you really think that's the right thing to do? And I appreciate it. I know it takes some thought, and we'll be constantly in touch with you guys as we move forward with this investigation, and it will continue. And there are many more people to talk to, and we're going to talk to them. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Stay safe, stay healthy. And before we wrap up, I want to let you know that we've been doing a little bit of reporting on the Onision James Greg Jackson YouTube psycho brat from Washington State story. And I can tell you tonight that we've been able to review probably about 24 of the complaints that have gone into the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. Now, as you know from watching the show, there's an investigation by the FBI. There's an investigation by the Pierce County Sheriff's Department and by the state of Washington into Onision Greg James Jackson for everything, including human trafficking, bringing girls out, the transmission of child pornography, also involving his spouse Kai, and even child neglect allegations when his 2-year-old fell out of a second-story window. There are at least 24 reports that were sent in via an email, a special tip line, if you will, set up by the Pierce County Sheriff's Department, that have been deemed credible, that are being investigated further, including 2 reports referred to the Pierce County Sheriff's Department by other law enforcement agencies outside the state of Washington, which I think is interesting and significant. Now, you also have to keep in mind that this is happening during an international pandemic. And in Washington State, like so many other places, law enforcement, first responders, the FBI, all of those people are overwhelmed and have been for 6 weeks now. So when I see things on social media like, when's the investigation going to conclude? What's going to happen? Where's justice? It takes time. And because of this pandemic, things have slowed down only because they have had to pay attention to other things, other issues relating to the pandemic. We've lost tens of thousands of people in this country because of it. But you can rest assured that the investigation is continuing, will continue, and I will stay on top of this, the Dahvie Vanity investigation. It was a very active day on that today. We've talked to a number of people who were around him during the course of his touring and music, and I think you're going to see some surprising guests on this show in the weeks to come. So thank you very much for having a seat with me tonight. We will see you next week as we continue to investigate and cover the COVID-19 pandemic. As I said, we've been doing that on Tuesday nights, and our continuing investigations into Dahvie Vanity and Onision. Stay safe, stay home, stay healthy. hopefully we'll have some better news on the COVID-19 front next week. Take care and have a good night.